Welcome to the Soul Searching Girl podcast, where healing happens. Soul Searching Girl episode 142, Worry and Rumination. Welcome back to the podcast, Wildflower. I'm so glad you're here. I have been MIA because I have been very sick for the past, it's been 2 weeks now. I am doing much better now, but for about a week of the last 2 weeks, no fun. I'm hoping I'm getting all the sickies out of me for the rest of the season because it's been a doozy, but I am back, but that is why I have been gone. Hopefully I can stifle my coughs for a little while. So our topic today is worry and rumination, which I've been able to spend a little time doing over the past few weeks. So many of you know I have had quite a year as I've been working through a lot of my own issues that I have been apparently buried in that emotional time capsule that I speak of so many times. And I have turned over many stones, and I have just done some really deep healing work. And I have had so many ahas during this healing process that I just really can't believe the change in my brain and in my emotions of how to process my feelings, how to pay attention to the worry and rumination that I have done through my life that I didn't even know was a thing I was doing. But as we get in deeper into this podcast, I'm going to explain a little bit of where that came from for me personally. Because in order to heal yourself moving forward, you do have to reflect back. You do have to look back at your life and kind of look at how you show up in the world. And it's probably connected to how you were raised. All of the things. The thing about healing is you have to pass through some really tough things in your life. And what really connected all the dots for me was that phrase, and I will repeat this for the rest of my life because it was that huge in my healing process. And that's the phrase dishonest harmony. Because after you know the abuse you've been through, after you understand a lot of it, your healing is for you to be able to show up in new ways. I have a suspicion that that can't happen until you understand why you're the way you are. So I will be singing Dishonest Harmony from the rooftops probably for the rest of my life because it was such a catalyst of so many breakthroughs for me. And I hope it can have the same impact on you that it did on me. It was uncomfortable this past year as I've had to work through a lot of things, but it's what is needed. I think we think if we can psychologically think about our pains, our struggles, our abuse, the things we've been through, that we'll be able to come to this place where you're like, I'm healed, I'm good. I think the missing piece is, if you are someone who thinks that way, as I did, is that you're skipping the feeling part. The feeling, experiencing all the difficult emotions as you work through this process. If you no longer want to be stuck in pain by repeating your same stories over and over and over, you have to see your part in how you're showing up in life. Not your part in what happened to you, but in your part of your life right now. And that's why it's so good to dive deep. Because when you come out the other side, there's this where you really get to take that big inhale and exhale that you've actually been craving. And one of the areas that came up for me during this process was the obsessive way that I worry and ruminate about, you name it. You name it, I have probably ruminated and worried about it. I grew up in a household where the sky was falling all the time. There was always something to worry about, constant worrying about all the things that can go wrong. And that is what I'm talking about when you can zoom way out of your life and kind of look at you as this person in this cast of characters that are the people in your family. You're able to see how you've absorbed some maybe unhealthy coping ways. And for me, being raised by a mom who worried a lot and excessively, and there was always just kind of this kinetic worrying feeling. I don't know properly how to explain it, but that left a mark on me. It's hard to stop the worrying when it's really all you know. And so I was steeped in worry from a very young age, as my mom was and is a constant worrier. I just thought this is just the way it is. This is just how one does life. We just worry about everything and all the things all the time. And several years ago, and I'm just going to say, leaving out decades of the history of this particular topic for me personally, I asked my mom why she worries so much, because I was starting to see, I could see the worry. Her answer's on par with what most people say when they are kind of obsessive worriers. Or her answer was, I am preparing for any possible outcome that can happen, so I feel prepared. And I'm paraphrasing here. But oh boy, that's not super healthy for your mental state. If you are in the habit of doing this, think of what a toll it takes on your body, on your mental health, on the energy that you carry around every day. However, this is true for so many of us. And because most of us have not been taught that our thoughts create our feelings, you do have the ability to think differently. Most of us believe that our thoughts in our head are just facts, and that's just the way it is. The thoughts that go across our head are just factual things. So think about the story you have about yourself. The one you would never speak out loud, like the thoughts that you have about yourself that are just in a treasure box of negativity. The thoughts that keep you stuck, the thoughts that keep you playing small, and the thoughts where you compare yourself to other people and the like, on and on, right? All of those thoughts that are kind of an internal dialogue, and you might not even consciously be thinking about them, but they're there. They're in your head, they're in your psyche, and therefore they're in your body because your thoughts create your emotions. So if you have a constant dialogue that you're not good enough, that something's wrong with you, that you're not smart enough, whatever that is, that creates the feelings you feel about yourself. But those thoughts aren't true. Yet we believe them to be true because they have been on repeat for possibly decades. And a lot of those thoughts that you have about yourself were formed before you were even aware of yourself in an autonomous kind of way. The same may be true for the way you worry and ruminate. And I've actually been kind of obsessed about this topic because worry and rumination are actually really easy for me to do. I will actually catch myself now and have to remind myself that worrying and or, depending on rumination, those are optional. You don't have to obsessively worry or ruminate about anything. But just like all the negative thoughts that you have about yourself, sometimes that worry and rumination is just there, and it's just the way your brain shows up in the world. And you've had decades to perfect it. Yay! Not fun, right? I want you to know that worry and rumination are also optional. Just like the negative thoughts you have about yourself, worrying and ruminating is also optional. So today, during our time together, I want to spend some time kind of dissecting what worry is and what rumination is. And if you find that you also worry and ruminate way more than you should, this episode should be really helpful for you. So let's start with a few explanations. Worry is often focused on future events, like potential negative events, anxious anticipation and apprehension, all the things that can go wrong on a given situation, trying to solve ahead of time or prevent the anticipated problems from even happening. What if this happens, right? That kind of thoughts about negative outcomes. Worries try to prevent danger or control the outcome. And think about how much anxiety that creates in your body for something that may not have happened yet. And the emotions of worry are often anxiety, tension, stress, overwhelm, fear. Where rumination tries to make sense of or fix something that has already happened. Rumination is along the lines of, why me? Or if only I did that or didn't do this. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? Rumination is focusing on past experiences and or conversations, relationships, repeating disagreements in your head over and over, trying to make sense of what happened. Rumination fuels feelings of regret, shame, guilt. Why did I say that? What went wrong? How did that even happen? Replaying past events in the rumination way often fills you with feelings of regret. Thoughts of how you should have handled the situation and what you would do differently if you had to relive it. So the emotions of rumination are often guilt, shame, regret, sadness, embarrassment. The thing is, though, we are wired to do this. Your brain thinks that repetition, rumination, worry equals protection. You're trying to prepare yourself for the worst possible outcome. Rumination is your brain's attempt to learn from mistakes, perceived mistakes, so that you never feel that way again. Both of these lead to endless loops of negative thoughts. Your brain, you, think that this is actually being productive, but it's not. If you are on the hamster wheel of looping negative thoughts, what is that filling your body with? Your thoughts create your feelings. And so if you stay in that space of worry, it is filling your body with stress hormones. And that takes a toll. So worry and rumination have costs associated with them. Worry creates constant stress. It leads to you struggling with being present. It can lead to decision paralysis, social paralysis even. Rumination is you being stuck in the past and contributes to low mood, self-criticism, and possibly even depression. You can look at it like this. Worry says, what if I mess up my presentation tomorrow at work? Rumination says, I can't believe I got confused in my presentation yesterday. Now, these two can blend in and out of each other as well, right? As your past thoughts feed your future thoughts. So worry and rumination dance a very familiar dance, a dance that you possibly believe is required, like it's not an option to not do that. So if you do struggle with this, a good coaching tool, I want you to ask yourself the next time you find yourself in this space, I want you to ask yourself, am I living in the past or future right now? Is my mind predicting or replacing? Replacing past events with different scenarios or what you could have said or what you should have said. What happens is when you ask these questions, am I in the past or the future? Is my mind predicting or replacing? You are in the place of awareness that you're actually doing it. And getting to the place of awareness is what will help you the most as you detangle your relationship with worry and rumination. So, with that thought, what is your relationship with worry and rumination? Have you ever thought about it that way? I didn't until about 1.5 years ago. What is your relationship with worry and rumination? In order to change your relationship, if you're not happy with it, meaning you probably worry a lot, you ruminate excessively, you first have to be able to see that you're even doing this. I had no idea that I was doing this as often as I had been. It was a huge wake-up call for me. Worry and rumination become habits at a very early age for most of us. It's hard to see because it feels so helpful in the moment, in the hours, in the days, in the months, in the years, that you end up ruminating, probably about the same scenario over and over and over. It might be hard for you to see that you do this yourself if you too were steeped and raised in an environment of worry and rumination. Like I said, I grew up with a sky is falling kind of mentality, and it just became a part of me. I did not know that there were other people who have worry and rumination in check. For so many of us, we don't realize that we don't have to keep reliving our past mistakes, our past conversations. I feel like worrying is addictive. It can be, for those of you who struggle with worry the way that I have, it can be really hard to see it in yourself. Because, like I said, your brain thinks it's helping you. Worry imagines problems that haven't even happened yet, and then rumination replays the things that have already happened. And your brain tries to find reasons for all of it. So both of these responses, worry and rumination, are repetitive, circular, and unproductive. Yes, your brain is designed to keep you safe, and that's what's happening on a psychological level. On an evolutionary level, actually. It's actually why you are here. Your ancestors have survived, and their brains have kept them safe and moving forward. Worry is your brain trying to prevent danger, It actually believes on a very deep level that if you run through enough scenarios, you will be ready for anything. Where rumination is your brain trying to make meaning or fix past experiences. It believes that if you do this enough, you'll find clarity, justice, or closure. Yet it usually keeps you on the round and round and round and round. And it's really hard to get off the round and round, especially if your brain keeps doing this and you don't see that this is a habitual response. You need to lead the way of your brain. You need to let your brain know it's okay and you've got this, no matter the outcome. This is what all of this work is about. It's creating different ways to handle this, worry and rumination, or other anxiety-filled responses in your life. Not to ignore it, but to learn how to process it and move through it. Meaning, I've got my own back to handle whatever happens in the future. That's going to build your self-confidence. You're going to feel more able to handle things, and you're going to trust yourself more. Versus spinning and spinning and spinning about whatever scary thing may be happening in your future. If you find yourself a ball of anxiety all the time, and you want to get off the literal emotional roller coaster that worry and rumination create, you have to decide to do things differently. And that's a scary thing, right? Because it's a whole new chapter for you to worry and ruminate about. It means that you have to be willing to allow difficult feelings to be present without trying to change it. That's the secret to your emotional life. The secret to your emotional life is to really feel your emotions and not try to change them. But when we feel difficult emotions, it sends a signal to us that we're in danger. And this is why you have to tell your brain how you're going to handle things the next time this happens. So you know how my only goal for the year was to use the phrase, I don't think that way anymore. Now, that phrase, like I've said, isn't to gaslight you or anything. It's just to get you to the place where you can be in awareness of what your brain is doing. When you get to this place where you can see that you have been ruminating about a past relationship, for example, and you use the phrase, I don't think that way anymore, which in this case may mean that you want to change the channel and give your brain a different direction to go. You use this phrase to remind yourself that there are different options than the rabbit hole your brain is going down. At this point, because it's an awareness tool, you can choose to keep ruminating or worrying about it, or you can decide that you don't want to. And in this very moment, make a decision. Do I need to process some difficult emotions? Or am I at a place in my healing where I can just change the channel and remind myself that I don't have to spend time ruminating? It is one thing to worry and ruminate and give yourself permission to do so. And it's one thing to change the channel and give your brain permission to stop thinking about it. Wildflower, you are allowed to give yourself permission to not worry. You can also give yourself permission to not ruminate. I want you to be aware that both worry and rumination begin with good intentions. That's why it's so sneaky, right? We do need and want to protect ourselves. That is an important thing. It is a good thing to protect yourself. However, they both can be traps that keep you spinning in that round and round, all those round and round loops. The harmful part of this process is that they both keep you full of anxiety, stress, overwhelm, guilt, and or shame. What do you think the emotional result is of these ways of being, especially if it's a constant in your life? Worry often feels jittery and restless, full of anxiety, dread, and fear, uncertainty even. Rumination feels heavy, dragging, like kind of being pulled backwards. Embarrassment, shame, regret. You feel very uncomfortable. Worry and rumination often cross over one another, and it's hard to know the difference sometimes. For example, a ruminating thought like, why did I embarrass myself yesterday when I gave my presentation at work? Can then trigger a worry, oh, my colleagues will never respect me, or they think I'm dumb. A worry thought like, if I blow tomorrow's presentation, can turn into rumination like, the last time I totally froze, I will always mess up. This process is exhausting you, because you're finding yourself stuck in the loop of past, future, past, future, past, future. And the real kicker of excessive worry and rumination is the cycle is robbing you of your present. It is robbing you of the here and now. Recognizing this difference is helpful for your energy, your body, and the relationship with yourself. And the ripple effect of healing this piece is it also includes the relationships with people in your life. That's the ripple effect of all of the coaching work I do. Someone comes to me for one specific problem and we work through it. But then they get the light bulb like, oh my gosh, I can use this tool over here and over here and over here. That's the positive ripple effect of you doing your own healing work. I want you to answer these questions to yourself. You could even grab a little journal and a pen if you would like. I think these are worth diving into. How would the relationships in your life improve if you reduced your worry and rumination? How would the relationship with yourself improve if you lessened your worry and rumination? How would your body respond if you reduced your rumination and worry? If worrying and rumination is your subconscious leading to consciousness, meaning that you don't always know you're doing it, but you're trying to get to the place of awareness or consciousness. If this is your way of trying to protect yourself and keep you safe, imagine what you can do when you are in awareness that this pattern is doing exactly the opposite of what you want. Imagine that. I imagine you do not want to feel anxiety, stress, guilt, and shame on the regular. And so is excessive worrying contributing to your feeling these emotions more than you want to? This is why you choose to do this thought feeling work. That's what I call it in my coaching. It will help you calm the feelings down that worry and rumination create for you. Being present is the goal. Living for the here and now is the goal. Think about this. Worry and rumination rob you of your present. Worry and rumination rob you of the life you want because you're so worried about the life you don't want or the thing that you didn't want to happen. Once you can name what you are experiencing, oh, this is worry. I'm worrying about something in the future that hasn't happened yet. Or, oh, this is rumination. I am spending too much time in the past. When you can name what you are experiencing, you can decide what you want to do about it. Keep worrying, keep ruminating, you get to decide. The strength you get to develop is the ability to define or explain to yourself what you are experiencing and then decide what you want to do about it. You're the boss, Wildflower. Sometimes you do want to be in it for a while. Sometimes you are trying to figure things out, but there's a fine line. Sometimes you do need to be in it, and that's what I call processing. You're processing something that happened. Jim and I had a very traumatic experience happen back in July, and we needed time to process it with each other, to process what we had experienced together. And that took some time. But after a while of realizing, okay, I've processed it, when I start dwelling on it again is now when I get to decide I want to do it differently. That I feel like I've processed my emotions. I am able to sit with these uncomfortable feelings and I'm going to be okay. You have to be the one to distinguish the difference. That part is up to you. Your lizard brain wants you to stay in panic mode. Oh my gosh. Wildflower. That's what your lizard brain does. It's really good at it. It's where it feels like it's doing something or solving something, figuring something out. And this is a perfect example of being comfortably uncomfortable. This place of awareness is the place you can see what you are doing. And your prefrontal cortex gets to decide what is best for you. The place of awareness is the place you can see what you're doing, and your prefrontal cortex gets to decide what's best for you versus your lizard brain that keeps you in panic mode. When you can see this difference, this is the place where you have given yourself a little bit of space. You're no longer in the swirl of it all. This is a place where you can breathe, ground yourself, and decide how to be in this moment where life is happening. You do not have to stay lost in the past or in the future. The work I do with my clients is all about this space, getting you to a place of awareness, understanding based on your specific life experiences, processing and being present where life is actually happening. The tools I teach my clients have the power to change your life if you use them, and this is the good news, guys. You don't even have to be perfect at them. You can literally put in B- work with thought work and find huge changes happening in your life. I love this work that I do in this world. With all the craziness that's happening in our world, the most renegade thing you can do, the most proactive thing you can do is to heal yourself. That's the hard part because you've been through some really hard things, Wildflower. I know that. And the kicker is, no matter what's happened to you, what you have experienced in your life, it is your job to do the healing. When you wait for the people who've hurt you, who've harmed you, who haven't behaved as you want them to, it is your job to heal yourself. And I know that's the kicker, but here's the thing that happens when you do that. You empower yourself, and I hate that word. It's overused. But you build your self-confidence to be able to handle future situations that you also don't want to experience. Because this is life, and life is really 50-50. That's why you do this work. This is real work. This is where real healing happens. I want to help you quiet your mind of all of the unnecessary worry and all of the rumination where you spin and spin. I love helping you see the difference so that you can actually spend the time creating the life that you want. Come be my client. Come find out for yourself. More soon, Wildflower. Until then, find beauty in this world that is around you right now. It's here and waiting for you to notice. Talk soon.